In 2014, Devonta Freeman was selected in the 4th round, 103rd overall, by the Atlanta Falcons after a very good career at Florida State alongside quarterback Jameis Winston. In his rookie year, he would back up Steven Jackson, having 65 carries, 248 yards, with 1 touchdown. He'd also have 30 catches for 225 yards and another touchdown. In 2015, he would have a breakout season after Steven Jackson would suffer an injury early on in the season, having 265 carries, 1,056 yards, and 11 touchdowns. Despite that low number, he would lead the league that year. He would also have 73 catches, 578 yards, and 3 touchdowns, making a name for himself as one of the best running backs that year. But the Atlanta Falcons, despite an 8-8 record, got a lot more recognition than they deserve. With Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Roddy White, and Jacob Tamme, the spotlight would be taken out of young star Devonta Freeman after a Pro Bowl appearance. But in 2016, he would do the same. 227 yards, 1,079 yards after 227 carries, averaging a very high 4.8 yards per carry, having 11 touchdowns once again. He would also have 54 catches for 462 yards and 2 touchdowns. After making his second Pro Bowl, he would be notched as one of the best running backs in the game. But despite all that, there were other headlines surrounding the Atlanta Falcons that took Devonta Freeman out of the spotlight. Vic Beasley's breakout season, Matt Ryan's MVP season, young Taylor Gabriel's breakout, rookie star Keanu Neal at the safety position, and rookie star Deion Jones at the linebacker position. And obviously, their trip to Super Bowl 51. Devonta Freeman got none of the recognition he deserved. Also with running back Tevin Coleman as a sidekick and a very, very solid offensive line. People threw Devonta Freeman under the bus quickly, but the Falcons front office did not think of him as, an understudy. They thought he was a strong part of their team. And that's why they signed him to a 5-year deal worth $41 million at the end of that 2016 season. But things would quickly go downhill. After their fall apart in Super Bowl 51, the Falcons had high hopes. With Vic Beasley having an MVP caliber or Defensive Player of the Year caliber season, going into his 3rd year, Matt Ryan having a bounce back MVP season, Taylor Gabriel being a very good number 3, and also Mohamed Sanu getting a bigger role, they would hope. Keanu Neal in his 2nd year and Deion Jones in his 2nd year. Tevin Coleman, his 4th year in the league, he can break out even more. So much hope for the Atlanta Falcons. But this isn't a what happened to the Atlanta Falcons video. This is what happened to Devonta Freeman. His carries would quickly diminish with Tevin Coleman in the backfield with him, only having 196 carries and a huge loss of yards with 865 and 7 touchdowns. He would have 36 catches for 317 yards, but only 1 receiving touchdown. In 2018, he would only play 2 games of being placed on IR, having the season with 68 combined yards, ending his season early, along with guys like Keanu Neal, Deion Jones, bunch of guys lost, Taylor Gabriel being gone, and a bunch of their team just quickly falling apart, Vic Beasley being a liability on the D-line. Devonta Freeman had high hopes going into 2019, but more injuries would diminish him, having 184 carries, 656 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He would have his 2nd most receptions of his career, but not a lot of yards, with 59 catches, 410 yards, and he did have a career high in 4 touchdowns receiving. Devonta Freeman, despite being a 4th-round pick, had high hopes for the Atlanta Falcons and quickly lived up to those expectations. With 2 Pro Bowls in his first 2 years as a full-time starter, even leading the league in touchdowns once, and being top 5 in yards per carry those 2 years. Surrounding headlines with the Atlanta Falcons quickly did not give him credit, but his paycheck said otherwise. In 3 quick years, it would slowly fall apart after he would be released after the following 2019 season and is still unsigned. He lived up to those expectations like I just previously said, got the big contract, but why did his carries go down? Why did the Falcons give up on him in 2019 despite being fully healthy? Well, with the loss of Taylor Gabriel, with Keanu Neal being injured, Deion Judge being injured, Matt Ryan not having the weapons to throw to like he did, the O-line leaving several years in separation. 2015 they lost some, 2016 they lost some of their stars, 2017 they lost some stars. With Julio Jones being banged up at the time too. Who are you going to give the ball to? Devonta Freeman. Teams knew exactly who the ball was going to. And then injuries, the workhorse team, the workhorse role tore his body apart. Right now he's a free agent, and teams I hope that are I hope should sign him are the Rams, the Dolphins, the Buccaneers, the Steelers, and a underdog to sign him, I think, are the Patriots. I think the Patriots really like him. Bill Belichick always praised him in 2015 and 16 when they faced off. Not even only in the Super Bowl, but in regular season games. And Devonta Freeman has so much promise. He's still very, very young. But for a running back, he is up in their age, I could say. But so much has happened in Devonta Freeman's career, it's honestly kind of sad. He lived up to those expectations early on, but quickly fell apart. People will say it's the front office's fault for giving that big extension, but when you draft a quarterback or a running back in the 4th round and hopes of him becoming a star, and he does, and you make the Super Bowl, you pay your guys. You pay them. And $41 million for 5 years is cheap. Now Zeke making $100 million in 5 years. All these guys, that was a very cheap contract. At the time. Or now it is. But at the time, that was a huge deal. He set the market for running backs after 2 good seasons. And in 2017, he still had a solid year. To me, that could be a Pro Bowl season, honestly. James Conner had not even 1,000 yards, and he made a Pro Bowl in 2018. 2017, Devonta Freeman put up similar numbers, and he didn't make the Pro Bowl. And obviously in 2019, with the loss of Tevin Coleman, everyone was expecting him to get the ball. I wish the best of luck of Devonta Freeman in the near future, and he's one of my favorite running backs in the league, or one of my favorite non-Cowboy players.